restoration project at North Hills. It's totally fly under the radar in this area. Hopefully the membership shows good sense, decides to act on this plan, and going to be around here a lot more. But, a little bit different than the other presentations here. Sort of maybe let Lester take over here on things on the USGA talk he gave, I think, last year.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks for having me. A bunch of interesting things going on today, especially the speakers who get to come here. And now that I'm working in Philadelphia, it's one of my favorite places. I had the privilege of talking to Tom Hall last night about all the stuff we always talk about, which doesn't always include golf. Jamie offered to buy my jacket this morning. This is the first for me. All my other articles of clothing are for sale, but not just And then while Mark was speaking, I broke off my tooth. So now I am jet clamping. All right. Top of the disc.
Rock on, dude.
So I'll get that fixed tonight with some super glue. I've been doing this for 25 years on my own. I apprenticed under another architect for 3.5 or almost 4 years. I'm from Richmond, Virginia. We've done about 126 projects in that time. Mass consulting and renovations, very strict restorations, new courses. So that's all I do. So I don't get a chance to do much else. But today, instead of talking about strategy and beauty and showing you before and afters, which is what we all like to do, we're going to talk about a project that we did that the USGA found out about and asked us to speak at their national symposium on pace of play this past November. So we're going to approach architecture from that filter for the next few minutes and tell you what we think some of the challenges are going forward in the game. The USGA has a national symposium on pace of play now yearly. There were 2 architects invited this year. My friend Bruce Charlton, who works for Robert Trent Jones out of Palo Alto, California, who just finished doing Poppy Hills. And then I did Independence Golf Course in Virginia, 3 miles from my office. They're always fun. A friend of mine, this golf course, there's some delicate information here, so everybody knows in advance. Good friends of mine designed the first golf course for people who were conflicted in how they wanted to own and operate a golf course. So they had a difference of opinion of what the golf course was they were trying to produce. I'll just say it that delicately. This is in Richmond, Virginia. It is a $37 million public golf course that has a driving range, cottages, dormitories, a 9-hole par 3 course, and so much infrastructure I can't describe it all to you. It has a dining facility for the dormitories, all based on the year it opened. It was 2001, and it was going to be owned by the Virginia State Golf Association. And that was going to be the home of golf in Virginia. You can see from the aerial photograph there's some quite elaborate bunkering, and many of them. Over 130,000 square feet on the 18 holes alone. We decided to turn it into a corporate and family entertainment venue, which will have arts camp, music camp, culinary schools, concert series. All the range, all the bunkers in the driving range have been filled in and removed so that this becomes a concert stage, and this becomes the body of the concert area. We haven't done the 9 holes. I'm going to reroute some holes in here, which you'll see over the next few minutes. What we did was a pace of play. And this particular owner, everything that we did, he gave me absolute carte blanche. I've known him for 20 years. Anybody watches the Golf Channel to Michael Reed. This is his brother. He went to the University of Richmond, as did I. And so we've known each other a long time. So the two older brothers bought the golf course. They're going to turn it into something of a different venue that just happens to have golf. This is the existing clubhouse. This is 30,000 square feet of commercial. This is 20,000 square feet of corporate space. Plans on adding a friend of mine who's working with Joe Bausch and Tom Paul and me. They're helping me at North Hills collaborate with the information on the street on Dave Franklin Meehan, who a year from now, if we do this again, we'll have a lot to tell you about this guy. He is one of the real unknowns in this business. So these were the three needles we had to pass through. And what I did was, again, in giving me carte blanche, I said, as long as everything you're going to do touches these three bases: pace of play, playability, enjoyment, and sustainability of maintenance. I could do anything I wanted, and there wasn't an unlimited budget. It was a conservative budget for this first phase. But we literally talked about where golfers walk, where golf carts go, why are there these features and these kinds of things going on. The ASGCA has a pace of play checklist developed with the USGA, and it has categories, initial steps in sizing up issues of pace of play, understanding site constraints, the design intent, routing and sequence, course setup, link facility, course conditions. All of those chapters, if you will, have little boxes to check. I have this available to me, never looked at it. I saved it until the end to see which one of these categories most could stand out. Now, just for a little bit more background, Bruce Charlton, on the other hand, his pace of play recognition came from, and after the fact, that when they did what they wanted to do with Bobby Hills, all of a sudden it was a faster golf. Ours, that was one of our objectives, but I didn't want to cheat and look too hard at a document that I knew existed. So after finishing, I went back and highlighted all the things we touched. We did an analysis of playability of every hole on the golf course. We looked at fairway constraints. We looked at fairway configuration, bunkers existing, and where we wanted to put new ones. We did flow charts of all of the bunker sizes, locations, where they were in relationship to the people playing the golf course. So you can see this black heavy line was a bunker I was going to reshape in place. That X meant I was taking that one out, X, and renovate, meaning I was going to end up with a substantially different bunker there than when I started. And I was going to add new bunkers. So every golf hole was evaluated, and we came up with something that looked like this. You can see that we went from proposed bunker square footage was 86,945, and we took out 44 on the 18 holes, but we really went with rebuilt in place and everything. We went down about 50,000 square feet when you add in the driving range. Most of the bunkers we went after were extremely deep, designed to be very penal, designed to hold a U.S. Open, and they were short and right of the green, a big percentage. So for a public golf course, this was a 5-hour round of golf on the best day. The USGA, the ASGCA, the PGA of America, and the PGA Tour are all involved in pace of play initiatives. And we all agree this is the thing that is killing the game. Everyone will figure out a way to finance their golf game. They'll figure out a way to pay for their golf game. They'll find a facility that fits their budget. But they will not give up any more time to play golf. So 5-hour rounds of golf, must go away. It is an absolute critical path that we better get on, or we're going to lose players. There's the range before and after. Even the bunkers on the range were so deep the ball picker couldn't even get in and out of them. And that was an easy one. That's a layup. Man says, I'm going to do concerts. Got it. We didn't just take them out because they were expensive. We took them out because he's changing his philosophy of business. So these slides will show you what I started with. That's what I started with. That's the first hole. It's only 460 yards, par 4. Pinched right at the landing area. Go back to a reasonable set of tees and lengths. You'll see that it was a very, very difficult opening hole. There it is now. Strategy of the hole isn't any different. We are going to add another forward tee. We're going to build family tees. That's another phase. But why build 3 when 7 will do? Okay. We'll also notice the depth and back brow of some of these bunkers. Got a little bit more sustainable. This left bunker at the green probably stayed configuratively in terms of depth and severity about the same, but it was removing this guy because most public players and even good players would end up short and right, and that was just bogging down the starting hole. So we changed that all down to a different kind of Bermuda grass. It's mowed at 350. It's a nice little, if you miss, it's going to roll downhill. But when you putt it back, the average player can get up and get down and get out. I'm not going to go through every hole, but again, Jimmy called these 4 bunkers. But when they're that close and they're that far off, they're just money spent that we could probably use somewhere else. And again, is that hurting? It's not hurting good player. Everybody's getting hung up there. And then the public golfer who the VSGA was trying to attract to this place. It was expensive, it was hard, and it was slow. And slow was the thing that we found was the most annoying factor. Here is a 9,000 square foot bunker on the outside of a dogleg. The cart path isn't even in the picture. So we evaluated that. That's the 7th green in the background. So when we get around the 7, you'll see the other half of the 9,000 feet. There's another 7,000 feet over here. And then again, I don't even mind the strategy of that. Again, why build 2 when 5 will do, or 4 will do? And I can tell you that this bunker, there was no chance of a public golfer or an average amateur golfer getting out of that front or first third portion of that bunker. We had to chip out sideways. So even the location's right. The severity of the penalty may be in question, but this owner said, I want to speed up the round golf. There's the other half of the Mamu bunker on the 3rd hole, and this is the par 3 7th. And this is 45 or 50 yards from the green and 15 or 16 feet below the putting surface. It still works. The shot value is still the same. The only thing that we did was make sure that this was mowed at fairway height, some of it. And I talked to a very good university college player the other day, and he said, you know what, I slid one over there, I missed the bunker, I went down the bottom of the hill, did a flop shot, made the putt, made my 3, went on. Before I couldn't even make 3. This guy plays college golf. So imagine the public 25 or 30 yards from the green, 16 feet down, they can't even finish. So those are the things we did. Also notice on the left side of this picture, these mulched areas. We took out 600 bushes, and that's where they were. There are some architects that have a complete fetish against seeing cart paths. And when you're looking down on a golf hole, hiding the cart path becomes kind of a task. So you plant inkberry and rhododendron and aleagnus, and all of a sudden, it's, well, you can see that. You can see it all in here. I mean, you can't even pump sunlight in it. It's so dark. So we increased the amount of out-of-play areas without putting in more rough grass. Yes, that has an expense. But we also found that the public golfer can hit it out of pine straw and recover. This is another par 3. So you're going to get into a par 3 counting contest here in a minute. And look at the bunkers down the hill below the green, and as far away from the green and deep as possible. And I submit that in this particular exercise, which was a renovation as a pace of play, playability, and sustainability exercise, that has the exact same shot value with better recoverability and a faster pace.
What's pace now?
We're 4 hours and 5 minutes. We reduced to 55 minutes, and that's why the USGA called it. 55 minutes is unheard of. Now, they thought 10 or 12 minutes would be really good. So there again, let me show you this real quick. It's the same hole. All right,
Lester,
yeah.
in this process, you looked at bunkers and everything, you're looking at some of this material. Were greens a part of this process too? Where there are some greens that had too much undulation that would be too difficult for the public to play?
Great question. I didn't have time in this phase to do greens. I did regrass them. They're champion Bermuda. They're the highest north that we've seen champion Bermuda. So the USGA was all over that from an agronomy standpoint. And they are absolutely as fine green as I've ever covered. I planted them on May the 1st, May the 15th. No, I planted them on June the 15th. I opened them on September 19th. And they were stunning. They were really stunning. And I was lucky I had done one other Bermuda grass conversion in Virginia down in Suffolk. And it worked there. So this particular owner said, well, why wouldn't I do that? Ball bruising, ball marks, everything. It's almost non-existent. Public golfer doesn't do a very good job of taking care of that anyway. So they're smooth. And smooth is important. So to answer your question, is I didn't touch the contours, although I'm getting credit for making the greens. I had a guy who plays a lot of golf at a high level. He said, I love what you did to the greens. I went, well, I didn't do anything with regrass. I just killed them and did the no-till. Bring right in. He said, no, you didn't. You changed the contours. They're better. Well, actually, I didn't. I just regrassed them. So he finally told me I did it again, and I said, you're right. They're great.
Are the greens rolling slower than
No.
they were 5 hours?
No. They're right on the number. And then here's another cool thing this particular owner's going to do. During Masters, US Open, PGA Week, he's going to dial them up to the speed that they're playing the Masters, PGA, US Open at, back off the tee times to 12 minutes instead of 7, and let people come out and see that up 14 green dots. And we know that's going to skew the world in terms of speed. But we also think, this is the way this guy thinks, really clever, why wouldn't we do that? Wouldn't that be cool? Because people are only going to watch golf half the day. Let's show them Masters greens. For the first time in this club's history, we can do that, because US Open in June at this place with bent grass, you could have a smorgasbord with problems.
What kind of speeds do they run on?
They are, when they were bent grass, they were running about 10 or 10 and a half. When we groomed them out last year, we put them at 10 or 10 and a half. But believe me, they're so much smoother. You know, we've had this discussion. There's a correlation between smooth and speed as much as there is between slope and speed. So we could keep doing this. I want to tell you one more par three. Oh my gosh, there's a bunker 25 yards down the green, 15 yards down the hill, and 20 feet deep. Again, the same shot time. We also did the better Billy bunker method on these. And I can tell you that there was a problem with the slope in the fairway. Everybody bailed out on this par 5 up into here, which was bunkered deeply. Removed that one. When they avoided that, when they rolled across the fairway, went down that hill and off into oblivion. So we built a support bunker here, saving bunker. That's it from the side. Pretty easy to get out of. But it sped up play. Because now every other third person doesn't go down that hill and look for their ball. The echelon bunkering, we stated that a couple of times. The other thing we did was we widened fairways and we cut the primary rough from 2 inches to 1 1/4. And I can grow that rough up for any event that they ever want to have to as deep as they want to have it. But for the public golfer, just that change right there, we know is adding 30 or 40 seconds per player per group, if they were in the rough. Again, conversion of some of these areas that were either hard pan or bushes or whatever, that's behind the 6th green. Most players can recover from that and not lose a lot of time. You know, I'm not talking about strategy, I'm not talking about variety, I'm not talking about naturalness, I'm talking about time. And we even thought, man, if we could get 20 minutes off this round of golf, it'd be a better sell.
The thing is, Lester, most of what you're doing there is incorporating all those elements. Anyway, they don't look, it doesn't take away from the look of that one iota, really.
I would hope that,
Right.
but that wasn't the mission. I mean,
I
there's
understand.
an owner that says,
But you're accomplishing that as well.
well, and I do get phase 2, which I'm going to rebuild 3 holes, put 3 holes around, and do some other stuff with the par 3 course. You know, we've got a lot of cool stuff that's going to happen.
Is the par 3 course still there?
Yes,
It is.
yes. And thank you for asking. The par 3 course now has a regulation cup, an 8-inch cup on the same green, so the kids can play with the smaller cup or beginners, and a foot golf hole off the side of the green. It's the only one in the country. I designed my first foot golf course. And I got feedback back from the people at foot golf, and I had already redesigned my first foot golf course. They didn't like the par 5. But that's the only place we know of in the country, and the people at foot golf have said that, where the whole family can go out and play to a hole that matches up whatever they want to do. And the foot golf people, I mean, these soccer dudes have been out there already. Some of them have played on national championship teams. They pay you $30 and they go all day. And they're not, let's say it's the only course in the country where foot golf doesn't corrupt the golf being played on the other golf course. So everybody gets to play on that course, mom, dad, kids, whoever. And it's a pretty cool thing. We removed 500, really close to 650 bushes, shrubs, and trees, and 55,000 square feet of bunkers. We added some saving bunkers. We rerouted cart paths, walk paths, traffic patterns. Again, we were interrogating everything while we were doing it, and we reduced the average round to 405, when they 45, and now the evidence is showing almost 50 minutes of saving. And you have to understand, I did this for the USGA, and when I listened to 2 days of logarithms, regression analysis, variable, whatever this map guy was telling us, and then Bruce and I got up there and talked about real golf and real results and real times, and we're like, oh, so it does work if you aren't MIT professor. Increasing that pace of play allows 10 more prime time groups a day, which is an average of 300 a foursome or 3,000 a day. It's 10 less free cycles of the golf cart, which saves, it allows the guy to have 10 fewer golf course, which is $750 a month.
They get the food cart from out there. Some guys want to have, they're going to drink like it's, tailgate at the football game. And they're going to hang out because they want to think they're going to get a date with the girl who's bringing the cart out, okay? And so tell me, did they do management practices beyond that? And do they have staff at key choke points on the golf course to monitor play when it gets out there?
Yes, and I'm so glad you asked. This guy is also a branding expert. He's been in the golf business for a long time. He was an agent for players. He understands and knows all about apparel and all about a lot of things. So he convinced the local Lexus dealership to provide him with 2 Lexus GT hybrids as his hospitality cars. They're closed. They go around a golf cart. They make no noise. They don't increase any environmental footprint. And they keep moving. These are the other things we did. We had the VSGA come out and re-rate the golf course. It's actually went out the stroke. Difficulty, they say. I'm not sure how. I think it's part of their evaluation of the trueness of the greens. We increased fairway area, reduced rough, increased outer rough to mulch where we can by 5 acres. But lowering the rough for the public golfer, it was almost like the race was on. This Bermuda grass on this golf course, because it was a championship engine, was so deep, you couldn't find a ball in the secondary rough, which is 18 feet off the fairway. You'd lose a ball. Lowering the height of the green surrounds and providing new mowing patterns on the fairways and the greens has allowed people that have the common miss, so to speak, a better chance of more varieties of shots with their skill level. Yes, I can challenge the better player, and they can bump it, I can make him flop it, I can make him, the public player can putt it. And I have a video if anybody wants to see. Okay. You're going to let me play on 30 seconds, maybe? Try. All right, before we leave. So we converted to champion Bermuda grass. USGA was involved. We converted the Duggar Billy bunkers. That was my call. We converted 419 fairways. They had a really old, dilapidated. We used mid-lawn Bermuda grass, which was stemmy and sticky and not a very good grass. And the USGA was involved in that decision. We added 2 wells and got off of public water. And now we're self-contained with our own water, which allows him to now build that corporate square footage. And we converted, I think I said 7 acres of rough to mulch. This was my last slide, and this was a caption contest we did for the USGA. This is a golf course I built at Langley Air Force Base called the Raptor. And that's the Raptor flying by at 450 knots. And our caption that we finally all decided on was, "Welcome to Independence. We face the play will be monitored by our eye in the sky." That's actually the wing commander. That picture is taken to me. Any questions? I know that's probably the driest thing that I might ever do for you, but if we do this again next year, I promise you I'll bring North Hills to you, and I'll bring the next Seth Rayner C.V. McDonald golf course in Central Gulf America. Thanks. How long did that take?
32 minutes.
It was the loss of the tooth.
Lester, 2 questions. One is, what was the pace of play between rounds, the tee time intervals between rounds to start with, and did you change it?
Yes. We actually found in the USGA kind of validated this for me. We went from 7-minute to 10-minute time, which you know the accordion effect of getting bogged down. So the sequence on the front nine of this golf course finishes 3-5-3. Crash. The back nine starts short 4-3. Crash. So when I do the front nine over, that sequence will go away. But we increased the interval and sped up the play. I'm not sure I would have ever thought that that would work, but this particular owner said it would. And it was logical to do. And then when I went to this thing in USGA in November, they said, "Oh yeah, everybody's doing that." Like, so we can all learn something.
The other question, how much did it cost to do this?
$1.2 million. 200,000 of it was the greens. About $450 worth of bunker work. Because removing a bunker costs money too. Filling a bunker properly, you know, you gotta pull the drainage, you gotta pull the mat or the whatever kind of filter fabric they had, and you gotta regrade it, and then you gotta sod it. So $50,000, that's an acre sod right there. That's a lot of money. We did path repairs, we did one path relocate. When we go to phase 2, he gave me a budget, I was in the budget, and then he exceeded it by asking me to do 3 more things, but even then, we were back into his budget. The level of quality of this place has gone up to a private club level, and he believes that will sustain. And I think he's right, because it is absolutely the best public golf course in the area. And it's a blast. It's much more fun. Yes?
Has, I know the potential's there, but have the rounds actually gone up? The number of rounds?
Well, we opened September 19th. You have to cover Bermuda grass greens when the ground temperature gets below 30. So we've been undercover for probably 26 days all winter. We don't know, but again, this guy doesn't care if the rounds go up. If he can sustain the rounds at that price, his revenue goes up.
Right.
Yes.
I'm just curious about how your work, and particularly in this case, focusing on pace of play, maybe informs now the design work that you do going forward, or if you look back at some of the work that you had previously done and think you would have done things
I
differently.
knew someone was going to ask that. I was surprised. I really was. I mean, you know, a lot of times we get the opportunity to kind of do what we want to do. We are in the business of advising and consulting and telling people what could be better. I mean, we all do it. And sometimes we get carte blanche, and sometimes we get challenged in why you're doing this. And we usually get our way. But in this case, the owner said, I've known you all my life. He's also the chairman of the board of Kinlock Golf Club. I've known you all my life. I know you're creative. This might be a project you don't want. I got these 3 boundaries. Tell me if you want to do it. And it was such a great learning experience for me to kind of backwards go around and say, I'm removing this bunker, but why? Well, it's going to affect pace of play. It's going to reduce the maintenance, if not transfer maintenance. And by the way, it's going to be prettier, and it's going to be more fun to not have that bunker, but have the one I'm going to leave. So it was kind of counterintuitive to go at it that way, and now we're getting ready to do phase 2 because it all worked. This guy is really creative. I'm telling you, he's also done things like the farm to table, the tricycle garden. We're growing all of our vegetables. He's got 2 new restaurants. We expanded the clubhouse to have bigger conferences and guests. It happens to be a playground that just has a golf course, instead of a golf course that has a bunch of stuff that nobody's used. Talking about engaging the family. And when you're talking about pace of play, the days of Dad going to the golf course at 8 o'clock on Saturday morning, staying all day while Mom is doing soccer, laundry, feeding the kids, running the kids here, trying to do her stuff, they're open. So that pack, which is the way they move around. And I'm talking about people in this room. You know your family is not going to segregate themselves for 5 to 8 hours a day on Saturday just so one person can go do one thing. So we're doing it in North Hills. We're doing it at every club I'm consulting with. We're in Alabama and Florida doing these things. We are providing daycare, spa treatments, kids' activities. We're even thinking about building at one of our courses a kids' clubhouse. Supervised and monitored, but Mom can leave them there and go do her thing at the club, and the kids are there. And then Dad gets there, they're all back together, and they're eating. So that's what's going to sustain golf. Is the more that you cater to, the more that you cater to this next generation, it's going to be the sustainment of clubs and probably certainly public golf. And I'm just lucky that the USGA found out about this and asked me to do it. This is the 3rd time I've done it. I promise you, if we come back next year, we'll do something that's more visually striking. But you did get the jet.
I got a quick question. Is he promoting 9-hole rounds of golf?
Absolutely.
And my.
369 the holes.
Our